I don't necessarily think you're just beating a Fed case like that.
With the pretty heavy federal charges hanging on Lil Durk's neck, everyone's been wondering, what's his next move and what's in the future for the rapper?
A 80-year sentence plus life, you're not making it.
It looks like Durk was thinking the same thing, because word on the street is that he might have pulled an El Chapo. How did this happen, and what does it mean for him, behind and beyond federal bars? Let's start with where Lil Durk has been locked up, the Metropolitan Detention Center, MDC, in Los Angeles. This isn't just any prison. It's an administrative security federal detention center that houses pretrial detainees and those considered high risk. Unlike state prisons with traditional cells, the MDC features rooms with plate glass windows, creating a unique environment where inmates like Durk are essentially living in high security hotel rooms that they can't leave. Durk has been locked up here since his extradition from Florida in November 2024, and according to recent reports, he's finding unique ways to cope with this massive life change. In a surprising turn of events, Durk has embraced Islam even more deeply, spending much of his time praying and learning Arabic with the help of fluent inmates. This spiritual journey appears to be his anchor in the storm, with sources indicating he's helped guide 13 fellow inmates to convert to Islam during his time at MDC. The transformation is remarkable. This is the same man who was once known for his street persona and violent lyrics, now dedicating his days to spiritual growth and helping others find faith. His father, Dante Banks, shared in an April 18, 2025 interview that Durk's commitment to Islam has given him peace despite facing potential life in prison or even the death penalty. But it hasn't all been peaceful. Durk has faced challenges with prison rules, including allegations that he was breaking regulations by participating in unauthorized three-way calls. These infractions were brought up during his December 2024 detention hearing and used by prosecutors to argue against his pretrial release, suggesting he couldn't be trusted to follow rules even while incarcerated. Despite these setbacks, Durk has maintained communication with the outside world through carefully monitored channels. His most significant recent interaction came in a phone call with DJ Academics on April 28, 2025, where he projected remarkable optimism.
I've been good, man, mentally, spiritually. I've been on top of my shit. I'll be back out there, you hear me?
Man, we can't wait, bro. We've been praying for you.
Thank you. I need all the prayers. I appreciate you. I was telling them, I was like, I think.
This confidence is striking given the gravity of his situation. Facing federal murder-for-hire charges that carry a potential life sentence, most people would be consumed by fear and anxiety. Yet Durk appears to be channeling this adversity into personal growth, focusing on faith and maintaining hope for the future. But Durk hasn't let his incarceration stop his musical output. His 9th studio album, Deep Thoughts, dropped on March 28, 2025, while he was behind bars, and remarkably debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200. The album features an impressive lineup of collaborators including Future, Lil Baby, Hunkshow, and Jane Aiko, proving that even prison walls can't contain his artistic influence. However, Durk admitted in the same call with DJ Academics that he hadn't even listened to his own album in its entirety.
But they would keep me updated, but I ain't heard nothing. This is like a box of hell. We don't get no news, no talk, no nothing. If you don't call or somebody says to you on the computer, it's a wrap.
This statement reveals the isolating reality of federal detention, where even successful artists are cut off from the outside world they once dominated. Producers working on the album had to communicate with Durk exclusively through phone calls, craying beats, and discussing artistic direction from afar. The album cover, depicting Durk in a graffiti jail cell, along with a mini documentary released alongside it, provides rare insight into how artists adapt their creative process when incarcerated. Meanwhile, Durk's legal team is mounting an aggressive defense strategy. His attorneys, including experienced criminal defense lawyer Drew Findling and Jonathan Brayman, have filed motions to dismiss the superseding indictment, arguing that prosecutors misled the grand jury and relied on circumstantial evidence. They're particularly focused on challenging the use of song lyrics as evidence, claiming they were written before Robinson's death and have no connection to the alleged crimes. The defense team's strategy extends beyond challenging evidence. They're preparing for a crucial bond hearing on May 8, 2025, where they'll present an enhanced bail package that includes $900,000 in real estate, $1 million in cash from Alamo Records, $150,000 from a business associate, round-the-clock private security, and electronic monitoring. This new package represents a significant increase from previous attempts and shows just how desperately Durk's team wants him released pending trial. The original bond offer of $3 million was denied in December 2024, with Judge Patricia Donahue citing Durk's substantial resources and alleged flight. Risk as reasons for keeping him detained. The timing of this bond hearing is critical. With the trial postponed to October 14, 2025, Durk faces potentially over a year year in detention before even having his day in court. His legal team argues this extended pre-trial detention is unfair, especially given the circumstantial nature of much of the prosecution's evidence. Complicating matters further are the ongoing civil lawsuits. Beyond the federal criminal charges, Durk faces wrongful death lawsuits filed by Andrea Laquila Robinson, mother of Saviaya Robinson and FBG Duck's mother. These civil cases could drain his financial resources, even if he manages to beat the criminal charges as they proceed on a lower burden of proof standard. The civil lawsuit filed by Andrea Robinson is particularly damaging as it mirrors the federal allegations, claiming her son died in a targeted attack orchestrated by Durk. Similarly, the FBG Duck lawsuit alleges a pattern of violence, including placing a $100,000 bounty on Duck's head that led to his fatal shooting in Chicago's Gold Coast area. Throughout this ordeal, Durk's family has remained his strongest public support system. His son, Zayden Banks, issued a heartfelt statement in October 2024, emphasizing Durk's charitable work through Neighborhood Heroes and his role as a dedicated father. In April 2025, his family released another statement, claiming the government presented false evidence to indict him, particularly criticizing the use of his rap lyrics against him. The family's defense of Durk reflects a broader cultural debate about criminalizing rap artistry. They argue that lyrics are artistic expression protected by the First Amendment, not confessions of real crimes. This argument will likely feature prominently in Durk's defense strategy as the trial approaches. Despite maintaining a positive public image and continuing to release music, the reality of Durk's situation remains stark. Federal prosecutors have built what they believe is an ironclad case, complete with 230 gigabytes of digital evidence, wiretap recordings, and alleged testimony from multiple informants. The sheer volume of evidence suggests this isn't a typical federal case. It's a comprehensive takedown operation targeting one of hip-hop's biggest stars. The stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Durk faces a minimum sentence of life in prison, with some legal analysts suggesting prosecutors might even seek the death penalty given. The nature of the charges. For someone who rose from Chicago's violent streets to Grammy-winning success, this potential fate represents a tragic fall from grace. Yet within the walls of MDC Los Angeles, Durk appears to be finding strength in faith and family. His conversion to Islam has provided him with a community of believers even in prison, while his continued creativity shows that his artistic spirit remains unbroken. Whether this positive mindset can sustain him through a trial that could determine the rest of his life remains to be seen. But how did Durk end up in this involuntary hotel situation in the first place? From the streets to federal chains.
He's locked up. Got the whole the mug show. No.
Durk Devontae Banks rose from the violent streets of Chicago's drill scene to become an international superstar, collaborating with Drake, Future, and J. Cole. But behind the platinum records and sold-out shows, federal investigators were building what they claim is an airtight case against one of rap's most influential figures. The story takes a dramatic turn on October 24, 2024, when U.S. Marshals snatched Durk at Miami International Airport. But here's where things get even crazier. The feds didn't just catch him trying to board a regular flight. Investigators claim Durk had booked not one, but 3 escape routes: a private jet to Italy, a commercial flight to Switzerland via New Jersey, and another to Dubai via Qatar, all for the same day. That's some next-level planning right there, and it immediately set off alarm bells for federal authorities who saw this as a desperate attempt to flee the country. What had Durk allegedly so spooked that he was trying to bounce to 3 different countries at once? Well, hold on to your seats, because what dropped next was absolutely insane. On November 8, 2024, federal prosecutors hit Durk with some of the most serious charges you can imagine: conspiracy to commit murder for hire, use of interstate facilities to commit murder for hire resulting in death, and using firearms in furtherance of a violent crime resulting in death. These charges all stem from what prosecutors describe as a calculated revenge plot targeting rival rapper Quando Rondo. After the tragic death of King Von in November 2020, the federal paperwork reads like a crime novel, detailing an alleged conspiracy that would make even the most hardened street veterans raise their eyebrows. According to prosecutors, Durk placed a bag on Quando Rondo's head, promising money and opportunities within his OTF label to anyone willing to handle the business. They claim 5 men associated with OTF: Kayvon London Grant, aka Cuz, DeAndre Dontrell Wilson, aka OTF Diddy, Keith Jones, aka Flocka, David Bryan Lindsay, aka Brown Eyes, and Asa Houston, aka OTF Boogie, stepped up to take the contract. The alleged plot unfolded with military precision. On August 18, 2022, these individuals reportedly received the drop from a longtime OTF OTF affiliate that Quando Rondo was staying at a specific hotel in Los Angeles. With Durk supposedly bankrolling the entire operation, the squad flew to California, rented luxury vehicles, purchased ski masks, and secured weapons, including what prosecutors describe as a fully automatic machine gun. Then came August 19th, the day everything allegedly went down. The indictment details how the OTF affiliates followed Quando Rondo and his cousin Lil Pab through LA in their Cadillac Escalade. After tracking them to multiple locations throughout the day, the crew allegedly opened fire at a gas station near the Beverly Center. At least 18 shots were fired in what witnesses described as a targeted assassination attempt. Lil Pab took the worst of it and died from his wounds, while Quando Rondo miraculously escaped unharmed. For Durk, what was allegedly supposed to be revenge for King Von's death had claimed yet another life, setting in motion the federal investigation that would eventually bring his empire crashing down. What makes the government's case particularly compelling is the digital evidence they claim to have collected. The feds say they've traced a credit card linked to OTF that paid for flights and accommodations for the co-defendants. They also point to GPS data showing the murder vehicle at a sporting goods store where ski masks were purchased, plus surveillance footage of the victims being followed before the shooting. This level of detail in the indictment shows just how thoroughly federal investigators had been tracking the alleged conspiracy. After his arrest, Durk pleaded not guilty to all charges during his arraignment in Los Angeles on November 14, 2024. His legal team, led by experienced defense attorney Drew Finling, went all out trying to secure his release. They offered a bond package that would make most people's heads spin: $2.3 million in equity from 2 Georgia properties, $1 million cash from Sony Music, plus round-the-clock security and electronic monitoring, but Judge Patricia Donahue wasn't having it. She denied the pretrial release motion on December 12, 2024, viewing Durk's substantial resources and the multiple escape routes he allegedly planned as clear evidence he was a flight risk. Making matters even worse for Durk, prosecutors allege that he was violating jail protocols at the MDC in Los Angeles by participating in unauthorized three-way calls. These allegations of breaking jailhouse rules not only damaged his case for pretrial release, but also potentially influenced how the court viewed his respect for authority and compliance with legal processes. But wait, there's more. As if the Quando Rondo situation wasn't heavy enough, prosecutors dropped another bombshell during Durk's detention hearings. They revealed that he might be connected to a second murder-for-hire plot involving the January 2022 killing of Stefan Mack, a 24-year-old alleged shot caller in the Smashville faction of the Gangster Disciples in Chicago. According to an unsealed FBI affidavit from 2023, Mack was fatally shot after leaving a youth center in Chicago. The document references text messages and social media posts discussing payment from Durk for Mack's murder, allegedly as retaliation for the 2021 killing of Durk's brother Dante OTF DT Thang Banks. While no formal charges have been filed against Durk in this case yet, prosecutors used this affidavit to argue he should remain locked up, painting a picture of a pattern of violent behavior that extends beyond the Quando Rondo case. Federal prosecutors have also claimed that Durk offered money for other hits, including one targeting a family member of a witness, though specific details about this allegation remain scarce. These claims surfaced during his December 2024 detention hearing as prosecutors portrayed Durk as a danger to the community who needed to stay behind bars to prevent further violence. The legal battles don't stop at criminal charges. Durk is also fighting multiple civil lawsuits that could drain his bank account and further tarnish his legacy. On February 24, 2025, Andrea Laquila Robinson, Saviaya Robinson's mother, filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk, his business manager, OTF, and a related company in Cook County Court, Chicago. The lawsuit claims her son's death in the 2022 Los Angeles shooting resulted directly from a targeted attack orchestrated by Durk. In a separate legal action from October 2024, FBG Duck's mother filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Durk, OTF, King Von's estate, and several music companies. This lawsuit alleges that Durk and OTF orchestrated a campaign of violence against FBG Duck, including placing a $100,000 bounty on his head, leading to his fatal shooting in Chicago's Gold Coast area in August 2020. Despite all these mounting legal challenges, Durk managed to maintain his connection with his fan base. His 9th studio album, Deep Thoughts, dropped on March 28, 2025, while he was locked up at the Metropolitan Detention Center in Los Angeles. The album, which featured guest appearances from Future, Lil Baby, Hunk Show, Radio and Jhené Aiko debuted at number 3 on the US Billboard 200, showing that his fan base remained loyal even as his legal troubles mounted. But here's where things get really interesting and lead us into the next part of our story. The streets have been buzzing with rumors about snitching and informants within Durk's circle. In street culture, cooperating with authorities represents the ultimate violation, a betrayal that breaks the unwritten code governing relationships in communities where distrust of law enforcement runs deep. And the whispers suggest that someone very close to Durk may have been wearing a wire, gathering evidence for years that would eventually bring down his entire operation. Rats in the kitchen. Y'all need to understand just how massive the federal government's evidence collection has been against Lil Durk.
Wiretaps, recordings, and all that, like, he was in too deep with a J. Reed.
According to court documents, prosecutors have gathered approximately 230 gigabytes of digital evidence in their case against Durk and his co-defendants. That's not a typo, 230 gigabytes. This includes audio recordings, surveillance footage, and over 20,000 pages of documents detailing alleged violent crimes. This mountain of evidence is precisely why Durk's trial, originally scheduled for January 7th, 2025, got pushed back to October 14th, 2025, with both the prosecution and defense acknowledging the complexity of the case. Now let's get to the nitty-gritty, the snitching allegations that have the streets talking. Two names keep popping up in these conversations: OTF Jam and Brick Baby. According to rumors circulating online and in the streets, these individuals may have provided devastating testimony or recordings to federal authorities. But here's what's really wild. The alleged betrayal may have been going on for years, right under everyone's noses. Let's start with OTF Jam, who appears to be at the center of these snitching allegations. Multiple sources suggest that Jam, who was once considered part of Durk's inner circle, may have been cooperating with federal authorities for an extended period. What makes this particularly devastating is that if true, Jam would have had access to the most sensitive information within OTF, potentially including discussions about alleged criminal activities and financial transactions that prosecutors are now using to build their case. The timing of Jam's alleged cooperation is crucial. Street sources claim that Jam started working with the feds around March 2023, roughly a year before Durk's arrest. This time frame aligns suspiciously well with prosecutors claiming they have recordings and evidence that span multiple alleged criminal activities. If Jam was indeed wearing a wire or providing information during this period, it would explain how federal authorities managed to build such a comprehensive case with so many specific details about alleged crimes committed across different states. Then there's the Brick Baby situation, which has raised even more eyebrows. In a Vlad TV interview, Brick Baby offered a critique of the alleged murder-for-hire operation that many in the streets found suspiciously detailed. He questioned the strategy of flying shooters from Chicago to Los Angeles, suggesting that using local hitmen would have been less obvious. He specifically highlighted the hotel stays and ski mask purchases as tactical errors that created an easily traceable pattern for investigators. What's striking about Brick Baby's comments isn't just their insight, but the timing and specificity. How did he know such detailed information about the alleged operation? Was this just street talk? Or was he privy to information that only someone closely connected to the situation would know? These questions have led many to speculate whether Brick Baby was another confidential informant who had been feeding information to federal authorities. One of the most damaging pieces of evidence against Durk may come from what's known as a cell plant, a federal informant placed in the same jail cell as someone connected to the case. According to court documents, this technique was allegedly used with an individual identified as AJ, who was locked up for possession of a stolen murder vehicle and later held at Illinois River Correctional Center. The FBI reportedly placed an informant in AJ's cell who recorded conversations where AJ allegedly spilled all the details about planning and executing the Stefan Mack murder, as well as payments related to the hit. What makes this evidence particularly damaging is that AJ allegedly provided specific details about Durk's role in financing these operations, including how payments were structured and distributed. These recordings, if authentic, could provide prosecutors with the direct connection they need to prove Durk orchestrated and paid for the alleged killings. But the snitching allegations don't stop there. Multiple sources claim that after AJ's arrest in March 2023, federal authorities used his cooperation as leverage to pressure others in Durk's circle to flip. The strategy appears to have worked, with the feds allegedly securing multiple cooperating witnesses who could provide detailed accounts of Durk's alleged criminal activities. One particularly interesting aspect of these allegations is that Durk may have suspected betrayal was coming. According to street sources, Lil Durk wasn't caught by surprise. He already knew that OTF Jam had snitched. In fact, reports suggest Durk was expecting arrests to happen at his birthday bash concert in Chicago. This could explain why he had multiple escape routes planned when federal authorities finally moved in to arrest him at Miami International Airport. The wiretap evidence appears to be equally devastating. Court documents suggest that federal authorities have recordings that directly implicate Durk in discussing payments for alleged hits. These wiretaps allegedly capture Durk's voice discussing financial transactions related to the murder-for-hire plots, providing prosecutors with the smoking gun they need to prove conspiracy charges. What's particularly damaging about these recordings is that they reportedly capture conversations where Durk discusses payment structures and logistics for alleged hits. In one instance, prosecutors claim to have a recording where Durk instructs an associate, "Don't book no flights under no names involved with Sick Me," allegedly attempting to avoid creating a paper trail that could tie him to the plot. The federal case appears to have been built methodically, with investigators using every tool at their disposal. Beyond wiretaps and informants, prosecutors point to digital evidence including credit card transactions, GPS data, and surveillance footage that allegedly tracks the movements of Durk and his associates before, during, and after alleged criminal activities. One particularly damning piece of evidence involves credit card transactions. Federal authorities claim they've traced an OTF-linked credit card that paid for flights, hotels, and equipment used in the alleged murder-for-hire plot targeting Quando Rondo. This financial paper trail, combined with witness testimony and wiretap evidence, creates a web of circumstantial and direct evidence that could be difficult for defense attorneys to unravel. The impact of these allegations on the broader hip-hop community cannot be overstated. In street culture, the mere suggestion of cooperating with authorities can be career-ending, if not life-threatening. For artists like Durk, who have built their brand on authenticity and street credibility, being portrayed as someone surrounded by informants could damage their reputation, even if they're ultimately acquitted. What makes this situation even more complex is the psychological warfare aspect. Federal authorities often use the mere suggestion of informants to create paranoia and mistrust within criminal organizations. By leaking information about potential snitches, they can create an atmosphere where everyone becomes suspicious of each other, potentially leading to more cooperation as people rush to cut deals before their associates beat them to it. The street code that governs these relationships is unforgiving. Traditional rules dictate that snitching is unacceptable under any circumstances, but federal pressure has changed many people's perspectives. The threat of decades in prison or life sentences has led even the most loyal soldiers to reevaluate their priorities, especially when facing the full weight of federal prosecution. As we piece together this complex puzzle of alleged betrayals and wiretap conversations, one thing becomes clear. The federal government appears to have built a case that extends far beyond just the Quando Rondo situation. By allegedly securing multiple cooperating witnesses and hundreds of hours of recorded conversations, prosecutors may have created a narrative that paints Durk as the orchestrator of a violent criminal enterprise spanning multiple states and involving numerous alleged murders. The devastating thing for Durk is that even if some of these snitching allegations prove false, the damage to his reputation and relationships may already be done. In a world where trust is everything and paranoia runs deep, the mere suggestion that someone in your inner circle was recording you for the feds can shatter the bonds that once seemed unbreakable. As Lil Durk's federal nightmare continues, one thing is certain: this case will have lasting implications for hip-hop culture, the use of artistic expression in criminal proceedings, and the ongoing debate about violence in rap music. Stay tuned to this channel for updates as this historic case unfolds. Will Lil Durk beat the feds and reclaim his crown in hip-hop, or will he join the long list of rappers who let street codes destroy promising musical careers? Only time will tell, but one thing's for sure: this story is far from over. If you enjoyed this video, click on the ones showing on your screen to enjoy more.